Hey everyone, welcome back to Walking City Adventures. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. This is a dash cam video of my drive from Koreatown, Los Angeles to Bakersfield, California. Right now we're on Western going north. We're soon going to be getting on the 101 north and then connecting to the 5 north towards Sacramento. So this was my first time driving to Bakersfield by myself. As a child, I used to go to Bakersfield with my grandfather all the time. His sister lived in Bakersfield, and I just remember him being so excited to go, and he would kind of like plan for weeks, and now I know why. So right now in Koreatown, we're having our summer, so it's pretty hot out here. I would say we're in the 90s for sure, but Bakersfield is in like the 110, so that's like almost, that's definitely weather. And I totally did not know that. I was just really not prepared for the weather in Bakersfield. It was so hot. Now I understand why when I see like news articles about parents keeping their kids in the car and the kid pass away. Why? Because it's really not, that weather is really not anything to play with. It's very serious. And so when I was younger and I would go to Bakersfield with my grandfather, you know, we would ride in his van. And, his van had a lot of horsepower, a lot of torque, good transmission, and everything like that. So in my mind, I'm like, I could do the same thing. I'm not even thinking like, I have a little car, Kia Soul. So gas is like $45. I put the top gas in my car. I use Chevron, so I'm pretty good on my maintenance. I feel like I'm pretty good on my maintenance. I get it oiled, the oil change regularly at Valvoline. And recently, this month actually, I had the radiator flush because they recommended it. And but one thing I did not check before I went out there was my battery level. And because if the battery level is low, it will make your alternator work harder. And I soon found I'll tell you more about that. So when Bakersfield, the road trip to Bakersfield is not a joke. You're going, the elevation I believe is about 4,000 feet. You're traveling through the Grapevine. You're traveling through, a lot of oiled well territory, a lot of open land, and you could drive for miles without any kind of store or food stop or anything in sight. And the thing about that is, if an emergency happens, you know, the same distance that you went in is not something that you could just walk out of. Like you're going to have to call 911. All right, pretty much. And so, what I didn't realize is the other thing I underestimated was the hills. Because we was in the van, his engine was pretty powerful, so he was able to really like eat up the hill no problem. But my car struggled on the way back very bad, and it really struggled. And now I know why those big 18 wheelers be on the right hand side going so slow. I would didn't understand it then, but now I do. I tried to gun it around one of 18 wheelers, and my car said nope, and I immediately found out. Luckily, I wasn't that far into the Grapevine. It was like the beginning of the hill, maybe 20 minutes in. So I had to call 911. I had to call CHP, and I was on the phone with CHP arrived first while I was on the phone with my insurance, and so I just let CHP call me a tow since they were here so fast, got there so fast. And, I wanted to call CHP because, the officer, they have the lights, they could stop traffic, so they could keep me safe. So when the tow company got there, he immediately told me that the bill was $270 And I was like flabbergasted because I was already in shock that my car was not going up the hill, and I couldn't accelerate, and it just turned off and it wouldn't turn back on. And yeah, so I was really in shock, and he told me that the meter starts when they get the call, and unfortunately they had received the wrong uh, location, and so but the tow guy was so nice. He talked to the officer, and the officer said they would do something, and so I didn't have to pay. And so the tow man, he towed me to the auto zone. At that point, it was like 6 in the evening, so all the auto repair places were closed. So I had to like get up, take a taxi to a local suite hotel, and yeah, from Irving to Bakersfield, a Lyft ride was like $150. It was astronomical, and it was like a for a 20-minute ride. So they know Lyfts, the tow companies, all them. They know that people are breaking down in Bakersfield. So that kind of business, like the tow taxi, auto repair business, is really, you'll see those kind of business on every corner next to each other. Like O'Reilly's and AutoZone right next to each other. Like they have a lot of them. And yeah, so the AutoZone did a test for free, and they said that after the tow man told me that my engine had locked up, because at first it wasn't even turning over, and then it started to turn over a little bit, but it wouldn't turn over all the way, and I was just devastated. And after he left, maybe about 30 minutes later, I tried it again, and it cranked up. And so then I was able to drive it and move it closer to the auto zone. So I was like, okay, now I started chat GPT and troubleshooting my situation, and yeah, we troubleshooted that. And so I troubleshooted that all night with ChatGPT, and then the next morning I went back to AutoZone, and then ChatGPT recommended that I get the battery charged all the way. Come to find out, my battery was at 50%, and that's why my alternator was weak. So and that's why my alternator failed the test. And then once the technician put the test back on the car with the fully charged battery, everything passed. And so at that point, it was just like, be careful going back. I had a diagnostics test done, and the Chat GPT. I was talking to the repair people, and Chat GPT troubleshooting was running circles around them, and I was just like, I tried this, and we did this, and then it eliminated that, but I want you to check because I know I can't get stranded again. And they were pretty much just listening. They wasn't really, and so they said they would do a diagnostics right. I lose power right, my car turn off. They came back and told me that it was my Cadillac converter, and that I needed to pay $1,900 for a new Cadillac converter. And yeah, and I chat GPT that as well. And ChatGPT asked me to ask them for the error code from the diagnostics, and then they told me, you know what they said? That they eyeballed it, and that's how they know that my Cadillac converter was bad. But for me, I felt like they was trying to run game on me, because when he said that the Cadillac converter was 1,900, he never mentioned his labor costs. And if you are in the service business, you're gonna say, yeah, you know, the part is 1,900, and then our labor is blah blah blah, you know. And then I would be like, oh, okay, but when I looked, he showed me my actual converter, but I don't really know what I'm Cadillac converter. I don't really know what I'm looking at. But what I do know is that Cadillac converters are worth money. So if I pay $1,900 for a new Cadillac converter, you put it on, who's getting my old Cadillac converter? And who's to say that that can't be resellable? They're obviously resellable, but this is not, me, my loss of power is not something that happens to me on a regular basis. Like this, this has never happened before. Like, sure, my car has felt like sluggish or something if I kind of like step on the gas too fast and it doesn't shift. But other than that, I've never had any problem starting or keeping my car on or any kind of problem. So what I ended up doing was going across the street to O'Reilly's and I bought like this Cadillac cleaner for like $26. It's called Cataclean. It was like $26 and it restores and maintains exhaust and fuel system performance. And so I had to pour this into my tank on like a almost close to empty and then fill it up with gas, that's gas from Chevron, and then drive it around for about 10 miles. So I did that. And yeah, at first it was like, but what really made me feel comfortable, because I really wasn't even comfortable coming back to driving back to Los Angeles, but the tow companies was telling me that it would cost $1,800 to have my car towed back to Los Angeles. So I was like, oh my God, I'm about to relocate to Bakersfield. Like, what is going on? So yeah, I just prayed and I just said, okay, ChatGPT was saying like, was really encouraging and helping me through this whole ordeal because you know, it was saying like, look out for the temperature and don't run the AC. I didn't have the AC on at all. I didn't even want to roll the windows down, okay, because I didn't want any kind of extra pressure on the engine. And yeah, I was able to do it without stopping. It didn't stop. It didn't lose power. And yeah, I'm so glad to be back in Los Angeles. So definitely, if you're going to do a road trip to Bakersfield, not only check your oil, don't put too much oil in there, they said, because it's very hot and that can, like, you know, do something. But I think that the newer cars have like an automatic shut off to protect itself. And it wasn't that my engine was locked, it was just protecting itself and allowing itself to cool off. And so, now that I'm back in Los Angeles, I'm gonna have a couple of more mechanics take a look at it and see, because my alternator belt is kind of squeaking now, and I don't want that to be an issue later on down the road. But definitely, if you're taking a trip to Bakersfield, make sure that you are definitely prepared with like a recent oil change. Your oil is at the correct levels. Your air filters are good. Spark plugs are good. You have radiator and coolant is on point, and your battery is charged. It would be wise to, even because I would definitely recommend going to AutoZone and letting them do a battery and an alternator test, just to be safe, because that Grapevine is not a joke. In between those mountains is not a joke, and I couldn't even imagine. They don't have lights, so I couldn't even imagine doing that at nighttime. In the dark. So thanks everybody for watching this video and listening to my story. If you've ever had any road trip stories that you want to share, please leave them in the comments. Please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoy the rest of the video.